Reflections of Purpose.
Hello, welcome to Twisted Threads. It is our Reflections of Purpose, and as always, we want to get right into it. Today, we're talking about time management. And so a lot of the videos that we've previously talked about had to do with personal development. And oftentimes you'll hear time management as being listed as a professional development. But really it goes on both sides, because usually if you can manage your time, then that means that things are in order in your personal life, they're in order in your professional life. And usually as those worlds collide, you'll find that you're more productive in a lot of different places. And so even as I understand that we live busy lives and we've got so many different things that's going on, we want to talk about some strategies with you today to think about how you can do more with less what? With less time. More with less time. Time is a very valuable commodity, and we understand that it's not like money. You know, it's not like that favorite car that we have or that favorite dress. Once time is lost, you can't recoup that. There's no refund. Doesn't matter whether the government is shut down or back into activity. What matters is when we treat our time as a priceless commodity, then we get an opportunity to really think about, where do we want to spend our time? Who do we want to spend our time with? You know, sometimes you don't have a choice. Ladies, if you married him, you're going to need to spend some time with him. There's nothing that I can do about that. If you had those children, parents, at some point, you got to spend time with those children and grow and nurture them into the wonderful human beings that you want to grow them into. Because our goal as parents is really to move our children up into being successful and productive adults. And so I know a lot of times we don't think about that when we are holding them in our arms and we see them and they're so wonderful and cute. But at some point we got to realize that's going to be somebody's husband. That's going to be somebody's coach. That's going to be somebody's mentor. And when you think of your children that way, hopefully you're able to see the gifting that's in them. But today we're focusing on you and the time management skills that will, I think, bring more success into your life. And so that's why we're making these a part of our Reflections of Purpose, and we're sharing them with you today. So one of the things that I know I've mentioned before is time boxing. And so time boxing is one of those things that is sort of like a buzzword. People like to use it now. It's grown over probably the last 3 to 5 years that you'll hear more people talking about time boxing. And then, you know, it piques your interest and you're like, what is that? What is the time boxing? Well, time boxing is simple as you putting blocks of time on your calendar to allow you to focus. So yes, I am the queen of multitasking, and you've heard me say it before. You'll continue to hear me say it. I try to do as many things in a little bit of time as I can. But with time boxing, it allows you the opportunity to focus on one thing for maybe an hour, maybe 90 minutes, maybe 2 hours. Usually no longer than 3 hours, because by that time, guess what? Everybody's burnt out and we're ready to do something else. So when you think about time boxing, think about before your day. So one of the things that I do, my calendar is probably crazier than most any given time. But what I do is the day before I'm preparing, I'm looking for what's on my schedule. Where do I need to be? What do I need to do? What are areas that I can maybe even place on my schedule? So I've got a lot of people who have opportunities to put meetings on my schedule. I also do the same. I put meetings on my schedule, but there are things like, you know, paper reduction. And that gives me an opportunity to go through all my paperwork and figure out what's going on. These are appointments that I make for myself. I have appointments for writing time. I have appointments for study time. A lot of us have chaos in our lives because we don't take charge or command of the time that we keep. And so one of the strategies that is always helpful when you're thinking about time management is to do a time audit. And I've got a video outside of the Reflections of Purpose, but we talk about time stealers. We talk about doing a time audit and what that means for you to write down each task and track how you're spending your day. And so you've heard me say it before when we're trying to do more with less, but it really is when we think about time boxing, when we think about our lists, our to-do lists, when we think about our calendars, and then when we think about those things that come in and steal that time. Well, here's something that I kind of recently learned, and I thought, wow, that was an aha moment that somebody mentioned to me. And it had to do with not just checking things on your list, but also having a to-do list. So we got a to-do list. And you're probably thinking, what is a to-do list? Well, your to-do list is the things that you completed. Ta-da, we did it. Okay, I needed to go ahead and regroup or reorganize, and I needed to do things differently. And I'm allowed to be able to figure out, okay, well, what are all of the things that I need to do? Well, when they're done, they get to be moved from the to-do list to the ta-da list. And that's a very important thing that we've got to remember. Celebrate every win. Why? Because it's a motivator. It gives us an opportunity to figure out what else can we fit in a day and what are the things that we're really, really good at. So the things that you're really, really good at, do them first. Get them out the way. The other strategy that I use, and I know many other people do that, if it's a task that's going to take less than 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever your threshold is, don't even put it on a list. Just get it done. Just get it done. And then there's no list at all. There's nothing that needs to happen, but you're just going along with things and making sure that you're good to go. So marking whether the task is a distraction or an investment. We talked about that in previous videos and some of our reflections of purpose so that you know where you are spending your time. We want to put a time limit on tasks. We want to add a done list to your to-do list. Complete your most important and demanding tasks first thing in the morning if you can, because sometimes getting those things out of the way will help you. Block out distractions, schedule short breaks, tasks, all of those things. The human brain can normally only focus for about 90 minutes at a time. Now, when you think about that, 90 minutes, that's all you got. In the 90-minute time frame, you're thinking about what are the things that you can get done in that time. You can block off different sections of 90 minutes out of the day. Organize your email. I don't know about you all. Mine is so crazy that sometimes it's like I've got to constantly be in my email just to make sure that things don't bunch up. Always be thinking about eliminating your time wasters. Now, one of the things that I found that's helpful is when you break down your to-do list, not just in categories, but think about what should you do, what must you do, what could you do, and what would you do? And so that might help you set priorities for what things must I absolutely do. So if you're on a job and you know you got tasks that need to be done, you better get them done so that you can have longevity in your position. The other thing is what should you do? Those things that you know they're high priority, but it doesn't always have to mean that they need your first priority. They just need to be done before the end of the day. The most important thing when it comes to time management, even breaking down into different sections, is something that many of us, especially my type A people, have a problem with is delegation. What things don't you personally have to do? What can you allow the kids to do? What can you assign for the honey-do list so that your honey can get in there and get some stuff done? What are those things that you know you need to get done? They might be on your must-do list, but it doesn't necessarily mean you have to be the one to do them. Really focus on the power that you give yourself by delegating. Look, all leaders, we love to lead. We love to, and usually if you're a servant leader, that means that your hands are getting dirty just like everybody else's. You're right in the trenches doing things along with everyone else. But when you understand the benefit of delegation, this is important, okay? You can't be here, there, and everywhere. I love it because when I was completing one of my degrees, it's been a while now, I don't remember which one it was, but even when I started my schooling, I knew that I needed to delegate different things. So the kids had activities and they had things in places that they needed to be. And so I assigned, friends, hey, can you all be over there? And usually when you get your squad, and we'll talk about creating those goals around your friends and your family so that you got support for the new ventures that you're participating in. Because hopefully by now you've written the vision down, you've thought about some things that you want to do, and maybe you completed some things or put them into action. Think about those things as we kind of have that contemplation. And so every now and then we've got homework with our reflections of purpose. And today's homework is for you to think about, what are those time stealers? How can you set up your schedule even the day before to prepare for success in your day, in your week, in your month, and especially in your year? 2019 is a breakout year for many of us. We're doing things that we've never done before. That means that we've got to set our schedules like we didn't have to do last year. If there are people who complain about that, well, you got to tell them to get on board. Why? Because this gravy train is moving. And if you want to move with it, you got to jump on board and be a part of the success, be a part of the positive things that we all are doing, but we got to make the time for them. They're not going to make time for themselves if we don't make the time for them. So that is why time management is so very important. You'll hear these tips and tricks from time to time from us because we understand that as we're trying to do more with less time, there's success on the other side of that, but we've got to be focused on that. Remember, if you've heard something that's impacted or inspired you, like and share the video, subscribe to our YouTube channel because you don't want to miss a thing. Make it an amazing day.